afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Entrepreneur First's 11th European Demo Day. I am Alice Bentinck, and this is my co-founder, Matt Clifford. And we wanted to also welcome the very large audience at our live stream in Asia and the live stream on the web as well. So a big welcome to everyone who has joined us here today. Before we get started with the main event for today, which is, of course, the pitches and the companies, Matt and I did want to do a little reminder for some of the investors that are joining us for the first time. I think we've actually got 100 new investors in the room today that haven't been to an EF Demo Day before, which is fantastic. But we did want to do a little bit of a reminder about why we are not an accelerator, but why we are a talent investor. We'll also have our CFO, Joe White, doing an introduction to our new global fund before we hand over the proceedings to Alistair Fury, who is our Managing Director of our European programs. EF was founded on the idea that it matters what the most ambitious people do with their lives. It matters that the most ambitious and the most talented individuals become founders. However, whether they do or they don't become founders is often largely dependent on where they're based. If you're based in Silicon Valley, it's the default and aspirational career path. However, if you're not based in Silicon Valley, it often isn't on people's radars in the same way. At Entrepreneur First, we make it our mission to find and seek out those talented and ambitious individuals. We believe the world is missing out on some of its best founders, and it's our mission to make sure that doesn't happen. What we do with them is bring them together. So there are many reasons that make it very hard for individuals in ecosystems outside of Silicon Valley to start a startup. One of the main issues, one of the key issues, is finding other individuals like them that want to start a startup. So at EF, we bring outliers together. We bring talented technologists, talented potential CEOs together to help them build a startup from scratch. One of the key things that we do differently compared to every other accelerator or every other investor is that we invest in an individual before they have a team and before they have an idea. We're investing purely on potential, their potential as a founder. We call this model talent investing. We're not an accelerator, we're not an early stage VC. Both of those models invest in companies rather than people. We invest in people. The companies that you see today, the founders that you see today, all joined us 6 months ago as individuals. They were selected not for their ideas, they weren't selected for their co-founders, they were selected for their potential. And over the last 6 months, they've been through the EF program, which was developed over the last 8 years, which was pioneered here in London. They've been through this program to go through the process of building an idea and building a team from scratch.
When we started this model in 2011, a lot of people thought it was crazy, and that was understandable. But today, EF really is growing explosively. We started by funding 30 individuals back in 2011. This year, EF will fund 800 individuals around the world, not just here in London, but actually all over the world. Half of our business now is outside Europe, is in Asia. And it's not just EF that's growing explosively, so is the portfolio. Many of you have invested in EF companies. And in fact, last year we saw the EF portfolio raise more capital than in the entire history of EF before that. But as Alice has said, it's not just about companies, it's about talent investing. And not only did we have more capital raised last year than in the history of EF before that, we had more applications to join the EF community last year than in the entire history of EF before that. In fact, EF is increasingly a global mission. The thing that Alice said about the world missing out on some of its best founders, that started as a diagnosis about the problem in London. Increasingly, it seems that's a problem everywhere in the world, perhaps outside Silicon Valley. And that's why today you're seeing not just London companies, but for the first time, companies built in 3 different EF locations: London, Paris, and Berlin. They're the main event. We can't wait to show you what they're doing. We think you'll see genuinely global ambition as well as genuine exceptional talent. But before we kick off, I do want to say a few thank yous. An event like today doesn't work without a lot of people pulling together, not least our corporate partners. The Telegraph we continue to work very closely with. They've become a core part of the EF family, and every cohort kicks off with an event at the Telegraph. And in fact, many now of our alumni companies are working very closely with the Telegraph. Also, thank you to Vitruvian Partners, our private equity partner. Vitruvian has invested in some of the leading lights of Europe that show just what is possible in this continent. It's amazing to have a fund like them in the ecosystem, and we love working with them. And thanks also to Amazon Web Services, AWS. Through the AWS Activate program, many of our companies, not just in Europe, but also in Asia, are growing and scaling, and it's a relationship that we're excited to continue to deepen. Also, just a broader thank you to the EF team. You will see 29 teams today, and all 105 people that work at EF have contributed one way or another to building these companies, whether it's the talent team that found the people in the first place, the team that worked with these individuals to help them form companies, or the funding team and launch teams that put on today's event. And of course, our brilliant venture partner team. And really crucially, our limited partners. So as you may have seen, we announced last month that we've raised a new global fund. We want to tell you a little bit about this because we think it's quite special. So I'm really delighted to welcome to the stage Joe White, our CFO, to tell you a little bit about how it works and how it's going to work with all of you. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you, Matt. So as you have already heard, 2018 was a huge year for EF, opening up 4 new offices, now operating in 6 locations. And for us, really, this allows us to reach and activate talent all over the world. So as you've also heard, we now operate in London, Berlin, Paris, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Bangalore. So some of you may have rightly thought, how the hell are they going to pay for all this? Reid Hoffman's a generous guy and everything, but come on. So we're very excited to be able to confirm, I think, what many of you already know, but we've closed our global fund with our first public announcement of 115 million. And this really allows us to invest in all these locations and all of this talent from a single global pot. A quick recap on how the fund actually works. So for each of these individuals that we invest in, and talent is, of course, our key ingredient, we invest in a 2K stipend per month, which for us really allows anyone to participate on the EF program. And we'll invest in them before there's anything to invest in otherwise. For those that really excel, we invest 80K after 3 months, and this allows them to incorporate their company, to accelerate their plans, bring on their first employees. And then when it comes to their seed rounds, we'll anchor it with a 15% commitment. We, of course, rely on you to come in and lead those rounds alongside of us. And just to be clear, for us, the best seed round means the best investor for their company, not the highest price round. I know a lot of you think about that often. This new fund will allow us to invest in more than 2,000 founders globally across all our different locations and more than 300 seed companies that we produce, and really give people who would otherwise have no access to our ecosystem the ability to on-ramp into it and to really thrive. EF fundamentally believes that talent is globally distributed, but access to capital is not. We're definitely not going to be in every city in the world, but we believe if you're close enough to one of our cities, if you're a smart girl or a guy from Indonesia, or even a developing country in Europe, like post-Brexit Britain, then that's right, even post-Brexit Britain will benefit from EF. If you can get on the Eurostar, it's fine. If you can get to one of our hubs, then we'll invest in you to find that co-founder. We'll invest in you to accelerate that program. We'll invest in you to raise from the best seed fund locally, and we'll help you tap into the global pool of capital as well. But the last thing is, we really couldn't do this without you, the broader ecosystem. I mean, we're incredibly grateful and proud of the support that you've provided us as co-investors, as LPs, and as part of this growing and thriving ecosystem. So really thank you for that. And the future that we're building together really is exciting. But enough of me, so I'll hand over to Alistair. It's showtime.